Okay, so we're looking at Hunter Steel in the Yahagi. So I guess this was a forum request. Somebody had really just had a tough time playing. Was asking for some assistance. So we'll speed this up. But first few things before we do, there is a CV in the match. Air detection's 4.6, which is pretty okay for a cruiser. 9.9 for a surface ship. Okay.
All forces, capture that area. Enemy force detected. I need intelligence data. Torpedoes, direct front.
Okay, so a few things. Don't have a problem with you going wide. Perfectly okay. I would have to look at the Yahagi's armor scheme. I think the Yahagi is a premium ship. I don't think that's a tech tree line. So it may have a armor scheme that's slightly different from the Furutaka. Furutaka has a really thick deck, which can allow you to bounce some shells. But even still, you do want to use kind of the lower detection of an IGN cruiser to be able to get close to maybe pounce on a DD or catch a surprise angle. So I actually figured you were going to be running up the 910 line, kind of operating in this area, because you can simply disengage if you want to. You might try to farm from the smoke here to be able to get in, smoke cloud, etc. But we saw there were a bunch of torps coming, or that just passed. More will come. And unless the Emerald and the Gaide are going to be trading smoke duty, I mean, you might just go up there and then just have to extract yourself, because you're going to need to be able to play, you know, at a distance, play safely, etc. So, I mean, if you want to play back here, I think that's fine. But typically, if you're firing from the same position somebody else is firing at, then they just move a little and they can get safe from everybody. Whereas if maybe you're out on the 10 line, you'd be able to kind of wrap in. You would, however, be alone, but you do have a hydro consumable, so worst case, if you're concerned about torpedoes, you should be safe there. But we'll keep watching what goes on. And actually, before we continue, let's just kind of read the map, because that's always a good thing to do, at least in the beginning. Over on the right side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Enemy ships, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gneisenau's kind of not engaged. These two are sort of looking at this mid-channel thing. So, your team is overwhelmed, at least looking at this, your team is overwhelmed on the other side. Which means you need to be trading better on this side. You have 5, they have 3. So, playing aggressively, not really saying to charge forward and get your ship dunked, but it's something that you might need to do. Also, you have the CV on your side, so really it's almost like 5.5 ships. Because the CV doesn't really count as a ship, it kind of adds, and the CV could simply pull off and go somewhere else, so I just count it as a 5.5 thing. Personally, Z31 is going to be outspotted by the Icarus, I think, so this gets forced off. These guys are going to be making a slow retreat. You're going to have to make place here. Right, so we will continue. Okay, so something to pay attention to here. Your strength is going to be in your concealment and surprise factor. Yes, doing lots of damage is going to be very important, and I think you could have already had shots on the way here. Charging up because you wanted to be in the smoke screen. Smoke doesn't last forever, so we can see as you get here, the smoke is fading. Now, the Gaide might trade smokes with the Emerald, maybe, but do understand that you are moving up into the guns of 2 battleships, one of which is blocked by rocks, and you're going to be pinched by torpedoes and other things. You're in a cruiser. Cruisers are armored with explodium. So there's some people that are extremely capable, but I mean, in general, it pays to be a little scared in cruisers until you feel really on point. Okay, so that's a lot of indecision. Right now, your emeralds are fighting each other. This is a heads-up brawl. Their emerald, your emerald. So your emerald right now is winning the brawl, but this guy is temporarily lit because of the Serov. You might be able to nail shots on this. I mean, 9 kilometers away is not that bad, but it comes down a little bit to priority structure. This is somebody that's actively shooting your friends. Very close, could torp your friends, versus somebody that's running away. CV's not going anywhere. They're probably going to have more planes. They'll be able to respot the Z-31. I don't think taking the shot here is bad, but because this is actively an engagement that could result in you losing a teammate if he ends up getting outplayed, I think you focus your guns on this. He's too close, too high threat to ignore, and looks like you're angled to incoming shells, which is good. Alright, so we've taken some good hits from the Friedrich. Now we're pushing up. Now, I do want to point out, there are some players that get mad. You know, well, the battleship isn't pushing, the whatever isn't pushing. That's true. Taking board position is extremely important. And when you have the ability to take board position, yes, it's great if a battleship can do it because they've got armor, they've got health. They can take some blows. However, Colorado is slow. Fuso is not, but I think Fuso is a little... I think it's like a battle cruiser, sort of. It's not quite battleshipy, or it's... whatever. Still, kind of just charging in, forcing the issue. You needed to force the issue because of this. You can see that the bad guys are pushing forward, and it turns out there are 7 of them now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 against your 5. So yes, you need to push the tempo, but with a cruiser, you're going to be pushing the tempo by pressure. You've got either short range or you've got long range. Mid range is a little wonky because if you're short range, you can go for a YOLO play, get some torps off or something. Long range, you can try to dance. You're not a destroyer. You're not going to juke like a destroyer can, but you have more health than a destroyer does, so you can take a few more blows. And ideally, in the case of, say, this battleship, you are more accurate than the battleship is. So if you're both trading blows at, say, 13 kilometers, 14 kilometers, then ideally you're juking his stuff, or at least most of his stuff, while maybe half of your stuff is hitting. And in that way, you're going to trade better. You're going to deal more to him than he's dealing to you, which is going to put you in a good situation. So far, we've lost 9,000 health and only done about 3,400 damage. Now, I'm not trying to say that damage is something it's the greatest above all. Many people will preach that, such is life. But first off, I think there were 2 mistakes. One is charging in cruisers, which are going to have a tough time pushing the issue against 2 battleships, because battleships are an extreme threat to cruisers. The guns are big, will rip into you from almost any angle, and you're not just going to kill them. You're not going to alpha them off the map. And also, I think not shooting into the Emerald was technically an issue. If combined weight of fire was able to save this dude from eating a torp, then that's 20,000 health, because I think he flooded as well, that you'd still have on your side. Alright, so
engine boost deactivated.
Something else. Now, right now, your Fuso is moving up, your Colorado is moving up. That's cool. You don't have to be in the front. King George is pretty far away. Friedrich is far away. I mean, if you were able to kind of take a bit of a scenic route out here or something, you could dance around with the Friedrich. Yeah, it'd be nice if you're shooting somebody that's not you. But you do have health. You have some health you can burn. Z31 torps, I don't remember what the range on them is, but there's a lot of time where you're not shooting on a flank that theoretically you have an advantage on. You want to be able to shoot. It's about shooting safely. So rather than spending some time coming in here to hide behind a rock, it'd almost be better to retreat a little and start working on the Friedrich and just start getting the damage in, get the harass in, take some shells, keep them lit for the battleships to try to find shots if they have them. Because moving up, taking board position is going to cost health. It did. It cost your emerald health. It cost you health. But I think you guys took board position a little early. I mean, even these guys are only not even halfway through A. You guys are all the way through Delta. If you can kind of slow push this a little bit, maybe the Emerald was a little safer. Maybe you were back here working on the Friedrich. You could have 30, 40,000 damage, have this Friedrich halfway down from multiple fires and other such kind of stuff before you start pushing up with everybody else. People push up when they feel safe. People push up when they feel like they're winning. And right now, you have 2 mint condition battleships that haven't been touched, a mint condition Z31 that hasn't been touched, which is probably one of the reasons why these guys are playing so skittish. You need to be able to express yourself. Now, part of Japanese cruisers is going to be an element of surprise. The tech tree line has 203s. It's got really big guns, especially for like lower tiers. That can Citadel stuff, Alpha stuff off the board. I mean, they can do some serious damage, and they've got great accuracy. I think the Yahagi has smaller caliber guns, which means it's probably more prone to firing rapidly. Just kind of throwing the damage out, getting the damage on the field sort of thing. I feel like you could be 2 to 3 kilometers further back. Still would have been able to help with the Emerald. Still would have been able to farm the Friedrich for the last little while. And helped kind of making this happen. Or trying to rotate back. But frankly, that's a lot of guns to deal with. And your flank is already falling. So there's a big difference between 11 kilometers away from a battleship and like 14 kilometers. And...
all stations, concentrate fire on the target.
So, you are heading back to help the other flank. Alright, just kind of did a little mental thinking, is that something we could do? Sure. However, it's worth considering that you move about this distance in maybe a minute. So if this is 1 minute, 2 minutes, by the time you get there, there are 3 of your team versus 6 of theirs. What are you going to be able to do? By the time 1 minute, 2 minute happens, the Flint is likely dead. The Mackinson is probably burning to the ground, if not already damaged severely already. And then who knows what's up with the Z31. Is there a flank to rescue? Whereas right here, you can take shots on the Friedrich. You could absolutely have been shooting this dude for the last minute or 2 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever. You just need to do it at this range, not at this range. This difference here, this 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, is the difference of like maybe 1.5 to 2.5 seconds worth of movement, which means 1.5 to 2.5 seconds of being able to turn in if he's got AP slung at you that maybe you can bounce or try to juke. There's a lot of difference there, and especially when it comes to battleship dispersion, battleship shots are so much wider in terms of area that they disperse in compared to cruisers. It's like you have the advantage there. You're going to hit him in ways that he can't really hit you back. Okay.
I need intelligence data.
So now I don't understand where you're going. The Friedrich is far enough that you can't affect him. The Colorado is pushing because things are looking pretty dire, although it's a fairly even trade right now. I think you push up with the Colorado. I think if you're not going to go over here to bolster the broken flank, you should be in this area. Your concern is not the Z-31. Why? Because you know that the destroyer is out there, so you have a rough idea where the torpedoes are going to come from, and if the Z-31 is going to start shooting, there's probably a smoke cloud and some gunfire. You have hydro, so this is going to detect torpedoes at longer than normal ranges, and a Z-31 should be one of the newer German destroyers, which I believe has slow torpedoes, trollpedoes as it were. So you should be able to detect them at a significant distance, and they shouldn't be fast enough to really surprise you that bad. But they can surprise a Colorado, because a Colorado is less maneuverable. The only concern that I have as far as moving up, it's not bad to move up, it's not bad to move up at all, is just your relevant position to the battleships. I think 13 to 15 or 13 to 14 kilometers is your sweet spot, so that you can work on the battleship without getting murdered. And I was glad that you came over this way in the sense that the battleship got a little more distance, but then you let him disengage. So now you're just kind of out in the middle of nowhere doing nothing. So your Colorado is probably going to eat torps. Z-31 is up.
Engine boost activated. Torpedoes astern. The ship is on fire. Problem solved, sir. On the designated target.
So there's a lot of skittish play. There's a lot
Engine
of...
boost deactivated.
Okay. Let's pretend that you're playing one of the tech tree lines. You're playing one of the tech tree lines that has the 203s. What are you looking to do with your superior load detection? You're looking to find an angle where, say, this New Orleans is doing something, or the Atlanta is doing something, and you're sharking around. You're not open water detected, you're not firing your guns, you're just sharking around, and then you find your shot, you take it, the shells come in, they either kill or they critically wound the New Orleans because you're fishing for citadels. Bam, you nail him. At which point you can either press the engagement to try to keep on him before he can turn, or like, whoa, what the hell? And maybe kill him off and then go dark. Or you've got your critical shot in, you go dark. You know, re-engage your assassin cloak. Right now, it just seems like you're in a holding pattern. You had shots on the Z-31 when the battleship was too far away to really care about you, because he was like 16, 17 clicks away, and you didn't shoot. Okay, why? Why not just shoot the Z-31? You have the distance that you're safe, and this is a target that presents. Like before, the Z-31 was a fine target, but the Emerald was a better target because he was close, actively engaging your team, etc. Playing safe is a great way to not get yourself killed, but not doing anything is a great way to lose the match, because if your participation is less than what the enemy is participating at, then you're just going to run out of room. You're going to run out of health, run out of friends, run out of points. So right now, you had minutes that you could have been working on this battleship. You absolutely could have been on the Z-31, who is quite low. A few more salvos into this, maybe this dude is off the board. That could be some point swing and some pressure off the Fuso, etc. Alright, so if you were
The enemy is about to win.
skittish to chase a battleship, now you're gonna hard charge. Okay, well there's an Icarus.
Torpedoes, direct front. The enemy team is taking the lead.
Okay, one thing, if you have your aim set on a ship, you can just hold down the right mouse button and it will lock in your aim relative to the ship. So like, if we're looking at the New Orleans and you've got your aim set here, then you could just right click and it will hold your aim relative to that. So if the New Orleans keeps moving up, your reticle will still be in basically the same spot. It's a little more complex than that, but in a general sense, which means that you could have set your reticle on the Icarus, and then while you're dodging these torpedoes, you just hold down the right mouse button and keep shooting. Unless they start to maneuver and reset the line, and you have to update your aim and change things, you might get an extra few shells in while you're juking some torps and whatever. So, yeah, there was a lot of skittish. There was a lot of uncertain. You have to identify what your victory conditions are, and one of the victory conditions is not playing safe but not doing anything, because that's not going to get anything done. You know, how do you use your toolkit to make plays and do things against an enemy? You had chances to burn a battleship to the ground, you had chances to shoot at a DD, you had chances to help a teammate that was actively engaged, and there was a lot of time where it just felt like you were uncertain where to go and what to do. So, yeah, something to work on. I hope this was helpful.